Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment makes an important update to how conversion therapy is defined in law. In light of the decision yesterday, the amendment clarifies that our ban on conversion therapy addresses conduct, not speech. The updated definition focuses on practices where a licensed provider directs a patient toward a predetermined sexual orientation or gender identity outcome, regardless of what that outcome is. It also makes clear that what this bill does not do. It does not restrict supportive, exploratory, or neutral therapy. Providers can continue to support patients who are questioning or navigating their identity. What this bill does is ensure accountability when a licensed provider causes harm through coercive or agenda-driven practices. And so this amendment strengthens our bill and ensures that it aligns with current legal standards, and we ask for an aye vote on the amendment.
Hi everyone, Patrick here. Class is in session. You just saw the Colorado State Legislature tell the Supreme Court, hold my beer. I'm going to do this now. And this is how the game's played. Right? What the Colorado State Legislature now is looking to do after the ruling just came down yesterday out of the Colorado Supreme Court, or the other day out of the Colorado Supreme Court, they're now looking to change the therapist's speech and label it as conduct and just pass the bill back through again. And here we go around and around and around, right? So there is no rule of law. There is no respect for what the Supreme Court says. And the radical left out here in the captured state of Colorado will continuously push their radical agenda through this state. And this is the blueprint that, if you follow, has been going on across the country. They have gotten more and more radical as the time has progressed. And it's happening in California, Colorado, New York, Washington, Illinois, right? And the list can go on and on. Virginia, which just flipped, and now Virginia is looking kind of wants to be New York light. And all this stuff is happening. You can't give an inch because they just come right back with the immediate double down. You can't even celebrate a victory out here as a conservative in the state of Colorado before the Dems go, no, 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 no. Supreme Court, no, no, no. We're gonna change this word, we're gonna change this definition a little bit, right? We're gonna wordsmith it because that's what the radical left does. They have lawyers on retainers that all they do all day is sit in think tanks to come up with ways how to reword laws to push their agenda through. And that's what they did. That's why this law is ready on standby. You tell me you tell me the Democrats in the Colorado State Capitol sat together and had this bill crafted already, ready to push through based on this ruling? Hell no. They had the taxpayers, me, paying a nonprofit bullshit think tank, radical leftist think tank, with my taxpayer dollars out here in the state to come up with probably 3 or 4 different bills that they could present on the floor to make sure that they could still control the speech of therapists in the state of Colorado that are trying to unconfuse kids who don't want to use gender-affirming care as treatment for minors, right? That is the only mental health issue that we affirm, right? If you have suicidal thoughts, do I give you a loaded gun? No. If I have an eating disorder, do I give you sandwiches? No. But if you think you're a boy in a girl's body, I have to go along with make-believe that you have a vagina. This is where we are. And the radical left doesn't care. They keep pushing in the double down, the pushing the double down, the pushing the double down. That's why on our side, you can't give an inch. And we need to actually go on the offensive. But it's hard to go on the offensive when you're consistently under attack, right? So our side needs to really get their head out of their ass. They need to remove the special interest and their willful ignorance and get their asses rolling. Because we know what's coming, okay? We know what's coming. And the left will continuously double down. I'm in the middle of it myself, okay? I am currently in the process of suing Cherry Creek School District You can read about the case online. I'm sure some of you have already. First Amendment, work retaliation, right? It's all there. It's documented online. Feel free to read it. And then the court system out here by a radical leftist judge dunked on me. They said, yep, no, Cherry Creek can lie about why they fired you. They could fire you for what you said, which was identified as a proud American in an equity training. And whatever comes out of my mouth is my job duty. So if I'm saying something that the district thinks isn't appropriate because I'm saying it as a job duty, and they can fire me for it, even though I was asked personally what do I identify as. So yeah, so Cherry Creek, we have oral arguments May 12th up here at the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals. They're continuously going with their double down that, yeah, we could lie about why we fired him, and yes, we can fire him for identifying as an American, right? That is a public schools district's public position. They take taxpayer federal funds, and they're saying, yep, we're going to fire a teacher that said he's proud to be an American. Isn't that ironic? The irony there is amazing. But I went online, and Damon, we can pull this up. I went online, and there you guys can see May 2026, term of court, Monday, May 11th. Nothing has nothing to do with me, right? But just showing you that I pulled this straight from their website. I went up there, I started scrolling. May 12th, courtroom run. Nope, I'm in courtroom 2, I believe, that day. Yep, there it is. Tuesday, May 12th, Denver County, courtroom 2, right there. 1, 2, 3, the fourth one down on your screen there. You see Hogarty, appellant versus Cherry Creek School District. Yeah, 9 a.m., May 12th. I'm very excited about that. Very excited about that. Finally get a day in court. All my tax dollars hard at work being siphoned off from me. Finally, I get some type of say. Of course, I'm not going to speak that day. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be respectful. I'm going to sit there and just mind my business. Let my lawyers do what they need to do, and then hear the garbage come out of the other side and hear how and why they think they can fire me for. If they truly believe that they could fire me for what I said, how come they didn't say that to me when they actually fired me? I would love to hear that answer. Can't wait to hear that answer. They've yet to give an answer to that. I would love for an appellate judge to just use common sense and ask a question like that. You know, if you really believe Mr. Hogarty, you were firing Mr. Hogarty for what he said in an equity training, how come you guys just didn't say that? Oh, but that's for Courtney Smith, Lissa Stahl, Chris Smith, Ron Garcia E. Ortiz, Angie Zahner, and the entire school board to answer for, because they're all together in on this, okay? But while I'm on this, right, I just scrolled. It was only 5 pages, and I was scrolling, and I could not believe what I came across. Courtroom 3, nothing, but when I got to courtroom 4, something hilarious appeared up. Oh, there it is. Cherry Creek School District is in Court of Appeals again on the same day. How is that possible? How is a public school system going to be in the 10th Circuit for 2 different cases? And if you actually take a look at this case, very similar. Retaliatory claims, First Amendment, right? All that. So they seem to have a pattern there at Cherry Creek School District. And I wonder how many taxpayers in the Cherry Creek School District know how much money is going to these legal battles. I just wonder how much. I got mine. I wonder how much this other one's costing them. And are they disclosing that to the public? Of course not. They're not saying anything about this because they know. They know. Right? But that is where we're at. The state of education in Colorado. The state of politics out here in Colorado is absolutely out of control. The leftists just double down. Ideology over principle, ideology over constitution. You're standing in my way, bitch, smack you a little bit, smack you around a little bit. I don't have to worry about it because the courts are in my back pocket because they promote the radical left agenda as well. Well, yeah, we got through all that nonsense, and now we're going up the chain to the appellate court. And we'll see what the appellate court says. 3-judge panel. Let's see if we have actually reasonable judges that will be slated to hear my case. I am not sure of their names yet. I have not been notified of it. But I can't wait to see who they are because, I'm going to look into them. I want to be fully aware of what I am going to be walking into in this case. And this is a huge case. It's a huge case. They took my livelihood, trampled on my First Amendment rights, took my career, lost my pension, got blackballed from education out here in Colorado. I don't give an inch. I fight back. They messed with the wrong guy. They know that. Deep down, they know they messed with the wrong guy. Once they got slapped with the lawsuit. Like, oh, he got the goods. Yeah, I do. Yeah, we do. They know we do. So they'll look to slander. They're looking to pigeonhole all these different cases together to argue why I had to get released of my job as a dean. And it's just fascinating to watch how they just sliver and just, this case here, well, this teacher wrote an email criticizing this policy at a different district and they were allowed to get fired for it. Yeah, great. All those people did stuff free willingly. I was asked a direct question about what I identify as. And if I don't know what else to say other than I'm a proud American that loves this country, I don't know where we are. And the fact that that cost me my job is an absolute disgrace. Everyone in Cherry Creek School District, the school board, the head of legal counsel, Sonia McKenzie, they all need to go because they all complicit in the cover-up. And there's other leaders in other buildings in the district that are also complicit in the cover-up. Okay? Cherry Creek School District is rotted to the core because they promote ideology over everything else. That's why kids in the district are reading lower than they were 5-10 years ago. That's why they're performing worse in math. Okay? And that's just not there. It's a national trend throughout the board. And that's why more and more people are pulling their kids out of Cherry Creek School District. But also at the same time, we covered a couple of weeks ago, the astronomical increase in spending on the administrative side in Cherry Creek School District. Why? Well, you got to bring in equity partners. You got to bring in a couple extra lawyers. You got to beef up your legal team. Because you know what you're doing is right by kids. You know what you're doing is right by kids. That's why you're in 2 federal lawsuits at the 10th Circuit on May 12th, you chumps. Because you're doing right by the community and you're doing right by kids. Nope, all of you need to go. The entire school board, right? Because at any point, anytime, the school board could have stopped this. They could have said, whoa, 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 this is going on under you, Chris Smith? What do you mean? What do you mean this is going on? No, they know. And Chris Smith was able to retire and then also collect a package upon his retirement around $200,000. That's how corrupt they are. He did his job for them. He got busted. And instead of, making sure it's a little harder on him, they made sure he gets the whole package out the door because he served his job. And now the number 2 comes in and she's going to do the same thing because she knew everything that was going on underneath him. It's a criminal cartel. Every organization. But Cherry Creek School District, especially a criminal cartel. Top to bottom. Without question. But it's okay. Your day in court's coming, guys. Your day in court's coming. So yeah, that's what's going on. And now what else is coming out of Colorado is that they're requiring lawyers to affirm something before they can even get onto the legal side of their casework. Let's take a look at this. This is from e-Inspire. Colorado is now requiring lawyers in the state as a condition of logging into its court e-filing system to promise not to cooperate with federal authorities in enforcing federal immigration law. Please understand, I do not practice immigration law. I do not practice criminal law. Nothing about my civil practice has anything to do with this. And yet, because I cannot log into the state's official e-filing system without saluting the resistance, I now cannot represent my clients, file lawsuits, access cases, file documents in existing cases, etc. If I click decline, it kicks me out of the system. I must click accept to access the system and continue representing my civil clients. Again, in cases that have absolutely nothing to do with immigration law or policy. I've read Senate Bill 25-276, the law referred to below. It does not regulate me as a private attorney or any of the clients I represent in civil matters. This is outrageous, draconian overreach. I have ethical obligations to my clients to represent them competently. My existing cases have running deadlines that I must attend to. Judges issue orders in my cases that I must follow. If I don't click accept in order to access the state's e-filing system, I will harm my clients, torpedo my practice, and probably commit malpractice. So I have no choice. I'm clicking accept under protest. How is this American? How does this have anything to do with American values or principles? It doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. But this is the communist agenda. They will make your job impossible if you don't follow suit with them. And they find ways to do it. Vaccination, right? Vaccinations. Get vaxxed? Nope. Okay, fired. Equity trading. Say proud American? Fired. Lawyer. Must not cooperate with ICE. I don't have anything to do with it. My clients have nothing to do with it. Sign it or you are out. No kings. Right? Right? The projection out of the left is crazy. They are illogical because they are only aligned to their political agenda. And they will stomp on you, crush on you, throw you out of the way, make you comply, or grind you up and spit you out. That's what they do. And they don't care. They literally do not care. Right? And it's the communist playbook, right? It's the principle above everything else. The principle over everything else. So out here in Colorado, lawyers must have pledged that they will not cooperate with ICE. Controlling free will, anybody? Torpedoing a law practice? But no kings. But no kings. Absolutely amazing. And all this is happening, right? And at the federal level, what's happening up there? Nothing. What is happening at the federal level to protect conservative values, American principles, American values, American families at the federal level, on the national level, on laws? Where's federal law banning DEI in schools or Marxist teaching in schools? Where's the banning of trans athletes, boys against girls in competitions? Where's the laws banning and going after sanctuary cities? Where's the laws to impeach judges that directly lead to harm on the American people, that continuously let reoffending violent criminal offenders back onto the street to reoffend? Where are all these laws? Where is anything being done in order to pass legislation in order to protect American citizens? Where is it being done? Nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. We are being hung out to dry. That's why we can't give an inch, because there is no support coming our way. Our leaders are either willfully ignorant or specially interest compromised. That's why we get what we get. That's why the American people continuously get nothing. And at the end of the day, what the American people are going to truly wind up getting is communist Marxism shoved down your throats, where they're going to come after your property, they're going to come after your kids. They're already doing this, but they're going to take them away from you. They're going to indoctrinate them harder. They're going to take away your house. They're going to deplatform you. They're going to make sure you lose your job because you need to go along with their way of life. And if you don't, that's what happens to you in a communist nation. You say, well, we're not a communist nation. We're still America. Really? Take a look around you. Take a look around you. What part of America is still America? You tell me that. What part of America is still America? And once again, our conservative side controls every lever of power and nothing is getting done on purpose. Because they want this heated contention on the ground. They want the divisiveness. They want people on edge all the time. And they're succeeding on this because the American people are under constant attack, constant pressure, one way or the other. No one's doing anything to actually unify this country or this party. It's like they want to continue this on both sides. I wonder why. Yeah, because it means more power, more money, more control for them, all while us peanuts down here on each other wind up stepping on each other and stepping over each other instead of actually coming together as the people that we are and driving home that this is the greatest country ever founded. All purposely being done. And we've heard the politicians talk in the past, Hakeem Jeffries, Pritzker, right? They're coming for the conservatives when they get all the power. They're not lying. And yet our side continuously does nothing to make sure we are protected. And you don't think the other side's going to wield that power once they get in? What we saw under the Biden administration, that's going to be light work compared to where they're going. There is utter disdain for what we believe on the other side. They look at us, they don't see people. They don't see individuals. They see someone that is in their way of achieving a life that they believe is better through communism and socialism. And that principle then gives them the green light to do whatever they want to do to us, and in their mind gives them the moral high ground to destroy our lives, fire us, crush us, and make sure our families don't exist. That's simply what it is. When you boil it down, that's really what it comes down to. That's why you cannot cede anything, anywhere, ever. Call me crazy. But look where ceding us has gotten us over the past 20 years. Look at us going along to get along. Being the nice guy instead of the good man. Look where it's gotten us. Because we have not stood on principles. We have not stood on values. We have not held people accountable. Our leaders have not held people accountable. Our election systems are hijacked. Our court systems are hijacked. And this is what we end up with in this hot mess of America in 2026. Take a listen to this liberal woman literally telling about what she thinks what needs to happen to those that are MAGA Republicans or conservatives. And remember, right, if you don't agree with them, you're a MAGA. So it doesn't matter. They'll come after you. Play this.
There will come a day in the not-so-distant future where MAGA Republicans or former MAGA Republicans will not be able to live in peace in this country anymore. Not exactly sure what that's going to look like, but I know for certain that you're either going to have to leave this country or completely hide any evidence that you ever supported Donald Trump in order to just walk out of your house. Even in the most rural conservative areas of this country, prior to January 2025, you couldn't walk out of your house and fly a schmotzy flag around and be vocally proud about the fact that you're a white supremacist. Half the town might agree with you, but there would be consequences for that. There'll be a day very soon where those consequences are not only going to be reinstated in society, but it's also going to be impossible for you to do anything in peace. If you choose to live out and proud about the fact that you supported Donald Trump during this time, your life's going to be miserable. Unless you sequester yourself to your small, little, rural East Texas town and never leave.
So you see how they're thinking? You seen how they're playing? They want to ostracize you, wear you down, grind you out, spit you out. Right? I don't know. Maybe I'm missing this, but I don't see any conservative videos that say anything like this. We're going to make your lives uncomfortable. We're going to make sure you're going to be like, I don't hear outside that talks like that. What outside talks about is we just want to be left alone and we want America just to be America. That's it. And if that's in your view wanting to grind you out and do all this other crazy shit, I don't know what to tell you. Right? But what we are having here is just Americans are just retreating to wherever they can that aligns with them politically. Like that's what we're becoming. Blue states are going to stay blue, red states are going to stay red because people are leaving. People leaving. I think we really should get an app developed where you get an app developed and you literally just list your house based on your political affiliation, right? Like, hey, I live in Arapahoe County, Denver, Colorado. I'm a Republican, but I want to get the F out of here, right? Throw that up on the little app. Someone that lives in a red part of Florida is like, I'm a crazy liberal. I'd love to live in crazy town, Colorado, right? And there should be an app that links these two people. And just work on a house swap program. Make it a hell of a lot easier for the ones that really can't afford to move, buy something new, right? Just try and figure out, do a little house swap program. Let people go where they want to go based on their politics and just let it be. Let the loonies live with the loonies. Let the logical, rational ones live with the logic and rational ones and just call it good. Call it good. Leave my kid alone. You keep distorting your kid over there, but don't touch my kid. And let's just call it a day. Let's just call it a day. But that's how they think. And then you got this New Jersey politician. He actually used to work for the Biden White House. But he's running for office. Check out his campaign video.
आपको पता है हम देसी कम्युनिटी न्यू जर्सी के सबसे बड़े कम्युनिटीज में से एक हैं। मेरा नाम जय वांगनकर है और मैं जून 2 को कांग्रेस के लिए इलेक्शन लड़ रहा हूं। लेकिन बहुत सालों से हमारी देसी वॉइसेस पॉलिटिक्स में फुली रिप्रेजेंट नहीं हुई हैं। अब वक्त आ गया है कि हमारी आवाज सच में सुनी जाए। इसलिए मैं कांग्रेस के लिए इलेक्शन लड़ रहा हूं।
Funny, but not funny. So, he's a Democrat running for office in New Jersey. The seat is currently held by Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman, who is not seeking re-election. So it's an open seat primary, and he's jumping in there. And he is Van Kagar, a 28-year-old Gen Z Indian American from Central Jersey, Mercer County. He's a former White House and Department of Energy official under the Biden administration. He is campaigning on issues like clean energy, healthcare, immigration, and bringing new energy to politics. He hopes to become New Jersey's first Gen Z and first South Asian member of Congress. So why is he releasing a video in Hindi? If Americans are the only ones that vote in our elections, why is he releasing a campaign video in a foreign language? He knows what he's doing. And this is not really what our country, when our founding fathers developed the Constitution and developed the concept of America, I'm sure they weren't thinking of a foreigner running for political office, speaking a foreign language to the public. I don't think that was part of it. Could get me wrong there, but I really don't think that was how they envisioned how the Constitution is supposed to be viewed and kind of where our politics would go. But lo and behold, in 2026, here we are. And it proves the lack of assimilation that takes place, right? Like that video right there proves the lack of assimilation that takes place when immigrants come over to America, right? Because if you're assimilating to the country, you don't need commercials in your home language. Just saying. Just like if you're assimilating to the countries, you shouldn't get road tests in foreign languages. Just like how we call customer service, it shouldn't be press 2 for English, press 3 for Somali, press 4 for Istanbul, right? Like it shouldn't be that, but it is. Because we've allowed immigrants to come to America and allowed them not to assimilate to American culture, making it easier for them just to keep their culture and be what they are here in America. But the problem is with that, when you come here to America and you don't assimilate to the culture and you don't become American or Americanized, what happens? And then who's your allegiance to? Right? Do you just come to America and see us and act as a parasite? That we're the host and you're just here to suck on our tit and take everything from us? Because that seems to be a driving theme amongst the new wave of immigrants that have arrived over the past 10 to 15 years. I'd say before that, the belief of coming to America, work hard, might have been more prominent in that group of migrants that came over. But I've worked with migrant populations, and I will tell you there is a decent amount of that belief of that America owes them something, even though they're here illegally. Okay, and a lot of that has to do with what's being taught in the education system to these migrants as they're coming over. DEI part of white supremacy. This is a white supremacist nation. This country hates everyone that's not white, which is completely false, by the way. This country does not hate people based on race. This country doesn't hate anybody. And that's why we're in the predicament we're in, because we never close the doors and say this shit ain't allowed. That's why we are where we are. Nice guys instead of a good man. America. And we've had this infiltration from within through the immigration process, through the backdoor channels, right? Where second, third third world country migrants have come here and resettled here without adopting to American values or American principles, but yet at the same time receive American benefits and American taxpayer dollars that then were siphoned off back to their home country. And also get EBT cards where these migrants, we covered this before, where these migrants go to the stores, buy food, put them into oil drums, right? These big plastic drums, airtight, and they ship that food back to their home country where they still have relatives there. And then those relatives then sell that food on the market in the home country for good currency. And who's paying for all that? You, me, every other average American that does everything right by the book. That's who's paying for that, in case you guys didn't know, in case you weren't aware. We're the ones that pay for that. Okay? Our tax dollars go for gimmicks like that. And then the illegals, their family makes the money in their country, and then they send American dollars back here to them. And because our surcharge on wiring money is so low, it doesn't prevent them from wanting to do this. And we just get scammed every which way, guys. It's crazy. We get scammed every which way. Willful ignorance or special interests dominate our politics. And us as Americans just sit here like, holy shit, this is really what's going on. And then you get this guy who served in the Biden administration, definitely capable of speaking English, chooses not to speak English, willfully speaks Hindi on a campaign video because he's hitting to his population that refuses to assimilate to America, but still letting them know, I got you. American politics 2026. So get his snake oil salesman out of here, his fake smile, all that bullshit, right? Because he's here to actually disrupt the American values and promote the destruction and the degradation of America. That's all it is. That's all it is. Take a look who speaks foreign languages in our Congress, and you tell me any one of those people work in the better interest of the American people. Tell me. Ian Omar, Jalal Powell, right? Do they act in America's best interest? They speak foreign languages. They give campaign videos like that. What are you supposed to say? What are you supposed to say? It's the reality. You got to say the quiet part out loud sometimes. This is bullshit. This is not what our founding fathers envisioned when they wrote our Constitution. It's not. And then the left uses words and wordsmith and lawfare to subvert the Constitution. And then when the Constitution rules in favor, they just go a different route to subvert the Constitution again because they know it's going to take 3 to 4 years for legal battles to take place. So I'm still going to keep taking that inch that whole way until the courts might say stop. But then even if they do say stop, I'm going to find out another way to just keep on going about it. And this is the problem because our Republican people in charge are doing nothing to solidify law to prevent this communist expansion from the left. And if this shit continues, they are going to get smoked come the midterms. That's just the reality. People in America, especially, like, we're not happy with the direction of the country. And I have a lot of conservative friends that are really like, I'm sitting this out. I'm good. And then I have 1 or 2 other ones like, well, you know, I can't really sit this out because if I sit it out, that means I'm just going to get left with the left that's coming. And I believe that was the calculated risk that's been played here. Is that what's going on is the decision has been made that we're going to follow this course of plan because our supporters will follow it because the alternative is straight Marxist communism coming through their front door. And now people aren't going to support that. You're right, they're not, but they're not going to support either your side either at the ballot box, the conservatives at the ballot box either. They're not. They're literally going to sit it out. No one's excited for this midterm event coming up. At least our side's not. And that's because our side, willful ignorance, special interest, A or B. C would be the American people, but that's not even an option anymore. And speaking of American people, this gift keeps on giving. Check out Minneapolis. What's going on? They're still recovering from the ICE raids about a month or 2 ago. They're still recovering. Let's play it.
A little bit of news coming out of Minnesota. Ilhan Omar said today that there is no evidence that any Minnesota taxpayer dollars went to Somalia, especially to fund Somalian terrorist group. And she said if anyone believes this, then they're simply just stupid. She said President Trump is targeting people like her because they didn't vote for him. Also, the mayor of Minneapolis, Mayor Jacob Frey, announced today that he will be given $2.7 million to people who cannot pay their rent. He said this money will go a long way. He said people are hurt because of Operation Metro Surge, and we need to bail them out. He's also given $7 million to people who own small businesses in the Minneapolis area. In the Minneapolis area, a lot of fraud is taking place. $10 million more dollars from Minnesota hardworking taxpayers is going towards bailing people out. Didn't Jacob Frey hear about the fraud taking place in Minnesota? This is again another slap in the face to all the hard-working Minnesotans. $10 million more is going towards illegal immigrants, and I guarantee it to Somalians to help them pay their rent and to help them with their small businesses.
There you go. There you go. Americans continuously getting stepped on. You know, they were traumatized by the ICE raids, you know, took criminal illegals out of their communities, but, you know, people are fearful. So, you know, they couldn't go to work. So we got to pay their rent. We got to make sure they have food, right? So the never-ending grift, head-off, money, peace cycle just keeps on happening. American taxpayers are funding it. The ones in Minnesota are paying it with their taxes, their state and county and city taxes. Here you go. Hit off, hit off, hit off, hit off, hit off. Right? And I'll be honest right now, I looked it up earlier today. Minnesota does have a surplus budget, right? But we all know what happens when blue cities and blue states have surplus budgets and they start doing these social habits and this social spending that's been going on. Eventually that profit comes to red. Colorado had billions in profit 5 years ago. We are operating in the red. California in the red. New York going into the red, right? It's a common trend. You can't spend more than you take in. But when you constantly increase your spending, you have to increase your revenue, though, don't you? Right? Because how do you pay that off if you don't got the money? We'll show you. Take a look how Mamdani's rolling in New York these days.
So you want to see dickhead moves? Check this out. They just installed these signs 2 days ago. This whole street has never had parking. And there might have been cars that have been parked here since Sunday or Monday, Tuesday, and leaving their cars all day. Look at every single car. All have tickets. Every single one. Here's where they were going to put the sign that they just decided, but not. Boom. 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 Every car. Every car. I'd be so fucking heated.
So yeah, we're going to make this street a street that we're going to make people charge to park on, but we're not going to give them a way to pay to park, and then we're just going to tax them. Welcome to commie land, right? Because you got to generate revenue. So you got to find a way to ding every which way the American taxpayer, right? Because you're not going to ding the illegals that have come in because they don't have any money. You actually got to supplement them, right? You got to give them shit. They're not giving you anything. You just got to keep giving them shit, right? So how do you get that? Well, you got to find ways to ding the American people, right? Oh, this street here, oh, perfect. This street hasn't had people haven't had to pay to park on this street in years. That looks like a good way to just start increasing revenue. Bing, bing, tickets, right? And those tickets go, I believe, to $50, $75, right? So like a couple grand, bop. And you do that a couple days, get a couple thousand, couple $100,000 after a couple months, right? It starts looking pretty good for the commies. But that's what they want to do. That's how they generate revenue. They have to take from you. They have to increase your taxes, impose fees to generate more money from you to give to others. That's what it is, right? They don't talk about giving up their shit, right? Is Mamdani giving up his salary? No. Right? Are all those people that are in those 6-figure jobs, 7-figure jobs in the top of city government giving up their salary? No. You know what they do, actually? They bring people on. They expand the grift that the American public has to pay for, right? You got to put on these equity people, the equity of firefighting, equity of education, all these new positions that Mamdani put into New York City, right? That's got to bloat the budget a little bit too, So you gotta ding them. And if you remember Virginia was doing dog grooming tax, gun sale tax, increased property tax. I'm going to wipe my ass tax, right? I saw recently they had a sunshine tax. If you didn't hear about that, it's a fee that they actually incorporated where you have to pay per sunny day use because you're benefiting from, I want to get this right, you're benefiting free from solar energy. So there's new taxes on that. There's a new tax about dreaming about freedom tax. So basically what they're doing now is they're using your Apple Watch to track your dreams. And then if you dream about having religious freedom or being back in pre-Great America, they're going to tax you on that. They get that through the Apple Watch. They're also going to get a die-in tax on you, right? Death tax isn't enough. But if you're in the hospital now and you're going to die, but you're not dead yet, they're going to charge you per minute until you die to make sure they extract the most amount of money out of you possible. That's what the Democrats do. Hope you enjoyed that. But literally, they come up with these things for a way to generate revenue. That's what they do to you, right? Their answer when they're in government is never to cut. They never cut funding. You notice that? It's always give more, give more, give more, give more, give more, give more. Yeah, it's a transfer from my pocket to theirs to then to be, they take a cut for themselves, of course, and then the rest of it gets siphoned off to other NGOs or other illegals that are benefiting from my money, right? What's my ROI here as an American? Right, what's my return on investment? I don't know, man. I don't know. I know I'm allowed to still kind of say what I kind of want to say on this. I can't wait to see how this bites me in the butt when I go to court one day. Can't wait, because then I'm like, oh, you see, he just said this, he said this, he said this. Yeah, years after you fired me, years after you destroyed my life, years after I was in depression, you pieces of trash. But they'll find a way to do this. So yeah, because the left plays the games. Right? And we're in the middle of this cultural war, right? It's culture war, lawfare. It's everything. It's everything. It's constant battles. It's constant battles that we're caught in the middle of. I want to play this clip for you, though. This is, if you guys remember, this is Rahm Emanuel. He served in the Obama White House. Believed he was mayor of Chicago at some point also. Listen to this snippet of an interview. Him admitting the damage the Democrats have done. Listen to this.
We lost the plot. We as Democrats nationally, from Latinx to defunding the police, to police organizations are all racist, to bringing a set of cultural wars to our schools. We are on the losing side of those cultural wars. Full stop. You are worried about bathroom access and locker room access. Why don't you focus on classroom excellence? You have 50% of our kids not reading at grade level.
Well, they can just say we can do both.
You've proven you can't, because you've permitted a 30-year low in reading and math scores, and nobody seems to be calling the whistle on this. We've lost the plot.
Why?
Because the party got unanchored. Every one of our most successful electoral presidents anchored themselves in what I call middle-class values, and values that are universal, at least in this country, ascribed to. We went from acceptance to advocacy. Big difference. And I'll just take one on that I shouldn't. So here goes. I remember fighting for Title IX. The reason we are champions in women's sports in the Olympics and soccer, hockey, etc., is Title IX. Why would you undercut the premise of Title IX with the ability of trans men playing in women's sports? To me, it's insane.
It's baffling.
You're undermining one of the great accomplishments we as a country, but also spearheaded by the Democratic Party, Title IX. And we're undercutting it.
Democrat Party is not the Democrat Party anymore. They're the communists. That's why. It's simple. Right? Like you hear that, we've lost the... Yeah, you created a total dystopian society because of acceptance. Instead of drawing hard lines, instead of telling people, no, that's not acceptable. Instead of saying, no, you do have to assimilate in this country. You need to bring something good to this country if you want to live here. You can't just be here and collect a check and then do nothing. Changing Latino or Latina to Latinx, right? Like just literally rewriting an entire culture. Title IX, big time, right? Trans kids in sports. All this stuff has been thrown in our face, all from one political side, right? And to think the good the Republicans could have done. Just think about it. We all know the left has lost the culture wars, right? Majority of Americans are against everything that the left has put out into culture, against trans kids being in girls' sports, being in girls' locker rooms, DEI, right? Like, yeah, the culture war, I'll agree with him there. The left lost it. But yet, at the same time, the right is refusing to capitalize on it. Instead, they're allowing the chaos to occur. And then when the left comes in, even though these policies aren't popular, they're going to ram them through Congress. Watch. Because it's ideology over principle. And there's no safeguard before that because the Republicans in this Congress are shit. Plain and simple. They're trash. They could have done so many good things for this country. And I feel like it's all been a wasted opportunity. And at the same time, there's no talks of anything positive for them to do too, right? Have you seen any? I don't think I've seen, but what's the platform coming up? What's the platform? Anti-DEI? How are you going to make the economy better for everyday Americans? How are you going to drive down housing cost prices? How are you going to deal with possibly college affordability? How are you going to deal with the education or the wrecking ball that needs to be taken to education and the entire restructuring of the education system? Okay? Because you're going to be moving these kids along and getting them ready for an education, for a career in a field that doesn't exist. Kids that are coming out of school in 5 to 10 years, they're not going to have jobs because of the technology that has taken over. So what are school districts and the federal government, what is anyone doing and having discussions about what they're going to do for that group of kids that are going to be coming into the workforce to fill jobs that aren't there anymore because a computer is doing it? Where is the vocational training for our kids? The hard training, how to build robots, how to fix robots, building cars, building houses, plumbers, electrician, HVACs, right? Data centers are going to be going up all over the place or need to go up all over the place because this is what we're ushering into. Well, where's the training for all these things to occur? No one's talking about it because no one has an answer. No one knows what to fucking do because no one cares because their pockets are still lined. Their kids are insulated from whatever happens on the streets. So they don't give a shit. And everyday Americans are the ones that are going to get caught in the crossfire. And they're going to be the ones that are going to be forced to suffer. Okay? And I see if that leads to universal basic income with social credit scores. Because I can see that's where this is going to wind up going. Universal basic income, social credit scores, because people won't have jobs or the training to actually participate in the ever-changing field. So they're going to be dependent on the government dime. And the government's going to say, okay, you're going to get this money now under these conditions. You know, maybe limit your meat intake, watch what you post on social media. And remember, with AI now, everything can be caught lickety-split. Facial recognitions in stores. Spiders all over the internet, just trolling accounts, pulling information, right? We're real easy to track right now. And it's just going to get easier as it goes on. So yeah, I could see stuff like that happening. And once again, it's the Republican Party that's doing nothing for the people. They do it for themselves. They enrich themselves. It's more apparent now than it's ever been. More people are aware now than they ever been, right? It started with the COVID lockdown when everyone was forced to stay home. What did everyone start doing? Boop, getting on the phone. Some people doing research, blah, 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 right? But people started to learn. People started to question. People started to understand. People started to connect the dots, right? And now in 2026, it's blatantly obvious. Everyone knows America is facing the wrong way, but our leaders do nothing about it. Why? We can't pass the SAVE Act when over 80% of the country agrees in it. Why? Because they don't want it done. Doesn't matter what we want. Oh, we're a constitutional republic, not a democracy. You're right. In a constitutional republic where 82% of people want shit done, it shouldn't be that hard to reach a compromise to get shit done, but somehow it is. Because the left plays to win the game. And they don't give a shit. And their voters typically stay with them. It's crazy. Yeah, the Democratic Party. Coming to a door near you. And let's play this actually. Take a listen to this Democratic Michigan state rep who was on, I believe, Laura Ingraham the other day. Listen to why she's leaving the Democratic Party.
Representative, great to see you tonight. What was the final straw, if there was a final straw for you?
Well, I won't say it was a final one. This has definitely been something that's been over the 8-year time period. But the last three and a half have definitely been telling. And those are just some basic issues that just do not line up biblically Christian values. And that is just abortion, LGBTQ, things to our children that are just imperative where parents no longer have control. And it's just that I just do not see the ability to be able to stay within somewhere where I cannot stand up against a party and vote my district at the same time. And so when it comes down to it, I have to look at God, and that was the final straw for me.
So yeah, hopefully more and more Democrats come to the realization that their party is anti-God, anti-American, anti-American values, and pro-communist. And then hopefully more and more actually have some principles like Rep. Karen did, and they step away from the Democratic Party. Now, of course, there'll be another minion to step in for her, but at least she can leave with good conscience. And at that point, good for her, because probably that's all she could have left at this point, is just be able to walk away with a good conscience that I said my piece, I'm going with God, I cannot support this stuff that's being pushed on our kids anymore. That's a fair statement. She has character. That's a good thing. We need more and more people like her to have character, to stand up and to call out the evil, right? And today I was driving to work, and I was thinking, like, where we're going, right? But ultimately, what does it take for me to throw down? Meaning, what does it take for me to get physically involved in the fight? Because I'm involved every which way. I'm involved in the courts, I'm involved at work, right? The only other way I could get involved is if it goes kinetic. And I'm fearful that it will go kinetic. And then when it does go kinetic, it's gonna be at my door. And then by the time it's at my door, it's too late. And I have a feeling a lot of you Americans think the same way. And you feel helpless, and you play these scenarios in your head and how you're supposed to get out of it, or how can there be an off-ramp? Why can't we just come to a middle ground and just everyone just calm the F down, take a breather, and let's figure out how we all could live in this great, big, spacious country cohesively under one government. Like, legitimately, like, that's literally what I thought about driving to work today. After I dropped my kid off at daycare, I got my coffee, and I have conversations in my head all the time, man. It becomes a lot. It really does become a lot. But yeah, that's kind of where I got to, right? And I wore this shirt today specifically because I had a feeling I would be on, but we are the land of the free because of the home of the brave. We owe a lot of debt of gratitude to a lot of people that we've never met, to give us the opportunity to live in such a free country for the time being. It doesn't feel so free anymore, but it's still better than pretty much anywhere else. And we are the beacon, right? So we have to hold on hope. And our soldiers, the ones that are over there right now in Iran, God bless them, God protect them. Because I have a feeling a lot of them, it's not their choice to go do this right now. So God protect our soldiers over there. Little funny story. It's not funny. I don't know if it's true or not. It's family folklore for me. It's family history, that what I've been told. Just like my family connection to military. My father served in the Navy. My dad was not really in my life a whole bunch growing up. But my mom's father, my grandfather, was. And he served in World War II. He got back in 45, and my mom was born in 46. My mom's 79 years old this year. She'll turn 80 in November. But the story about my grandfather that I remember being told growing up numerous times was that my grandfather was Eisenhower's chef in the army. And that my grandfather had an opportunity to go politically with Eisenhower to like follow him around and he chose not to. He chose to stay in Brooklyn with his wife and my grandmother and raise their family. That's the story I've been told, and that just came to me. Like I think about my grandparents a lot, and the family and military and the strain that it must put on the families of service members that go overseas. And that was just a story I decided to share that just triggered in my head about my grandfather. And I can't validate it anywhere. I can't find anything to disprove it. I also can't find anything to prove it. So it's nice to think that that's the truth. And that's what my grandfather did during World War II, was actually make his silver. I remember my grandfather used to make me these silver dollar pancakes when I was little. Little silver dollar ones. He died in 93. He died when I was 9. So I have about 4 or 5 years of memory, but one of the memories I remember of him was he used to make those pancakes, and I remember being told he used to make those for Eisenhower. Just something nice to think about from time to time. Because, you know, you gotta bring in some nice touching stories from time to time. Because you go crazy if you don't, man. Like, our society's off the chains. And if you take a look here, I want to play this clip. This is an Idaho Democratic senator talking about kids in their state and when they go to schools. Check this out.
We stand instead of parents. When your children walk into our classroom, they become ours. And we listen to their fears, we dry their tears, we celebrate their successes, and yes, we find a new way when they fail. And as you know, throughout this country, teachers have stood in the line of fire to shield your children. And they would do it in a heartbeat, because those kids in that classroom, they're ours. They're ours too.
They're yours when you're teaching them for 7 to 8 hours a day. They're not yours in perpetuity. They're not yours to make parental decisions. They're not yours to hide gender from parents. So they're not yours. You educate them, you make sure they're safe, and then you go about your day. But the problem is that's not how education is viewed anymore. Teachers see themselves as being the primary guardian, which is crazy, that they only see these kids in the middle and high school level only 1 hour a day. But they see themselves as these guardians to the kids, and that the school system knows what's best for the children instead of the individual parent. I'll tell you right now, you're crazy. The parent knows best. You may disagree what the parent is thinking and how the parent is raising their kid, but guess what? It's none of your effing business. You're not there for that. You're there to make sure the kid receives an education. But the education system has done such a good job of using the language of educating the whole child, social emotional learning, all these fluff words and terminologies that they use now that they're able to just and then make teachers believe that these kids are theirs. Maybe that's why sexual abuse amongst teachers and kids are at an all-time high. It's crazy. It seems like every other day there's a teacher being arrested for sexually abusing a student. And in this day and age, it seems it's the females. It's the female teachers having sex with the male students. It's off the chains. It is off the chains. I wonder why. Because you get these liberal women getting in position of powers that they start feeling like they're saviors to these kids. And they develop this emotional bond and they start getting these feelings. It's crazy. And then they act on them because they have no morals. That's what's in our school systems, right? And what's being done at the federal level to enact federal laws to make sure there is severe consequences for teachers that betray the trust of minors. Maybe if you make federal mandatory sentencing of 30 to 40 years for sexual abuse of a student because you're in a position of trust, make that a federal law across the board, see if that knocks the shit out. But once again, no one's doing it. because it's the grooming of the children that's important. Not the protection of the children, but the sexualization and grooming of the child. Okay, you could easily put a federal mandatory law on the books that if you're in a position of trust and you sexually abuse a minor, you get 30 to life. Why wouldn't you do that as a sane society that talks about wanting to protect kids? Why wouldn't you make the harshest punishment possible? You're in a position of trust and you're having sex with teenage boys. And I'll say, I'm sure the teenage boy's not complaining. I'm sure they're not. But it's the moral degradation that is occurring and is becoming normalized. They are looking to normalize in our country sexual relations between adults and minors. That's been a long play in this march. That's why children are sexualized. Children are children are open to these crazy predators in their own educational environment. And the school systems breed it. Because if the public school system didn't breed it, why aren't these cases happening all over the world? How come you're not seeing teachers in Japan getting arrested for having sex with their kids, or in China, or in Russia, hell, in England, Spain, France, Germany, Italy? How come you don't see 10, 20 teachers being arrested a year because it doesn't happen. It's becoming normalized here. All done on purpose. And take a look at what else is being done on purpose right here in Dearborn, Michigan. You know, that's another gift that keeps on giving. Check out what their school system's rocking.
Yeah, so this is happening at a public school in Dearborn, Michigan.
I am Zahra Zrik, principal of Becker Elementary. Today is our annual Eid celebration. We are going to take you down to our gym to see all the cool things that are happening. This was totally hosted by our PTA. We are so thankful to have them.
What does Eid mean to you?
For me, Eid means to me getting closer to Allah and having a great celebration day.
We got the hot cocoa stand. Let's go.
Hot chocolate, marshmallows.
Let's go. Hey, they're halal, right? Halal marshmallows. Let's go.
It's Ziyad brand.
Yes. What does Eid mean to you?
It means to me when I celebrate with my family and get money. Eid means to me to get closer to Allah.
Oh, so teachers are not allowed to talk about being a Christian in school, but you can celebrate a full-on Muslim holiday. That makes sense to me. We're not allowed to say Merry Christmas, we have to say Happy Holidays to be inclusive, but you can celebrate a full-on Muslim holiday. You can have a 3-day Islamic festival, but we can't have Easter. This is happening in America, in public schools.
Fire clip, 100% correct. You have to say Happy Holidays. You cannot say Merry Christmas because it's not inclusive, but yet you could have a full-on Muslim holiday right there taking over the entire school, and that is completely fine because that's considered inclusive. Inclusive to who? What about the Christian kids that go to that school? Are there any more Christians in Dearborn? Hell, I don't know. I know Muslims make up the majority of the city population now, so that's why take a look at your principal, take a look at the kids in the school system, right? Look how all that happens. And then their culture comes in, right? Separation of church and state, no. Yes, 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 yes. Separation of mosque and state, however, no, no, no. And they'll just say, yeah, there's no case law that separates that. All good, right? That's what's going on, right? Anything to be used against Christians and Americans in the school system, right there in your face, right there in your face. And then let's take a look. I check in on South Africa from time to time because I know they're completely off the wagons. I saw this link and this article come up, and my Lord, take a look at this. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa says that the country will not abandon its DI policies known as Black Economic Empowerment, right? This is the playbook that BLM uses over here in America, right? The fraud grift group that was founded after the fentanyl overdose guy died. Yeah, they use this playbook. Those who say BEE and affirmative action must stop are just dreaming, he said. South Africa has strict laws that mandate race-based hiring practices. A new law called the Employment Equity Amendment Act sets hiring targets for 2025 through 2030 across 18 economic sectors. Some workforce targets aim for 90 to 96% of employees to come from designated groups, which include Black people, women, and people with disabilities. That means that if a company has more than 5% white men, it could face penalties of up to 10% of its income. DEI at its finest, brought to you out of South Africa. Okay? Oh, that never happened here. Yeah, it is happening here. I literally just got off the phone with a buddy before a show who's doing contractor work in New York. He has quotas he has to follow when he's on sites with like who he's doing business with. It's crazy. Somehow it's legal because it's being put up by the department in New York City, Public Works, I think, or something like that. I don't know how it's legal, but it's actually quota based on race on the groups he's working with, right? Like if this, I have to work with 40% Black-owned business groups, right? Like so 40% of my clientele needs to be this. And that's what's going on in New York City. So tell me that's not kind of out of the playbook here. Now just, right, we're here now. Now just project that out over 10, 15, 20, 30 years, what it's going to look like. So, woo, that's a show for today. Today is Good Friday. Today is the day Jesus was crucified. Sunday is Easter, the day Jesus rose. I hope over the next week, over this weekend actually, Easter weekend, people choose to be reborn. People choose a different light, right? Because that's the beauty about Christianity. That's the beauty about humanity, is that every day you have free will still to wake up and choose what you want to do, and choose what you want to follow, and choose what you want to believe, and choose what you want to put out in the world every day. So I'm hopeful over the next 3 days that there's this spiritual awakening that is so desperately needed in this country and so many people to get this ship turned around. Because we're having conversations about we shouldn't be giving an inch in 2026 instead of how we could make this country better. We need some divine intervention. We need God to touch some hearts. I hope he does that over this Easter weekend. And with that, let me pray us out. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Dear Lord, thank you for my family. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Thank you for the beautiful sun shining down on me. Dear Lord, I kind of already said my prayer. I hope that at the end of this Holy Week and on Easter Sunday, there's a rebirth in a lot of people in America and throughout the world to bring love and light back into this world and to push the evil and darkness back into the hole it is crawled out from. It's a big ass, God, but I'm praying for it. It is so needed in this time. Hey, Grandma, Grandpa, Dad, love you guys. Think about you guys a lot. Talked about you today, Grandpa. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Holy Spirit, amen. All right, everyone. Have a great Easter. Enjoy the time with your family. Take time to connect with God. And we'll see you next week. Class dismissed.
Rise up, untamed. In the heart of the fire where the wild ones roam, Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the nights. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real. No more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew.